Hello, middle schoolers. I hope you all are doing well. Today I'm going to show you how to make a 3D line design that looks something like this. All right, this is what you're going to need. 2 pieces of paper. One to protect your table, and the other to do the work. You will also need a pencil and a couple Sharpies. To start, at the bottom of the page, you want to make about 8 dots. You notice I'm varying the height. I'm going up a little bit, over some, up a little bit, down. I stay within about an inch or so of the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's put one way up here and one in over at this edge. Okay, about 8 or 9 dots. Next, you're going to take a Sharpie, and I'm just going to slide this at an angle a little bit because it's easier for me to work like that. And you're going to carefully, sliding your arm, using your arm as the mechanical tool, you're going to carefully come across. When you hit a dot, you make a nice smooth arc around it like so. Sliding your arm, sliding, 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 evenly as possible. Next line. When you hit this arc, or when you get close to this arc, make a beautiful arc around it. And sliding, sliding, sliding. If you hit a dot, if you come close to a dot, make an arc around it and keep going. Try to make your lines, your horizontal lines, as smooth as possible. Your arcs are going to swell. See how that works? So I come close to the dot, and then I kind of swell out and around and come back close to the dot and keep going. I'm having a little struggle because my hand is catching on the table. It's a little bit sweaty or something. If you can have a nice smooth surface, that will allow your hand to slide more easily across those longer distances. Okay. And there's going to be a bit of silence here while I just repeat myself. Okay. Just move that dot over here, swelling around, even horizontal line, and cross. Yeah, as I was saying, there should be a bit of silence here because it takes a few minutes of repeated motions to get this going correctly. And if you want to, you can speed up the video and get to the end or near the end. Someday when I get better at videoing myself, I will learn how to add music in the background to entertain you a little bit. Sorry. Looks like my marker's getting a little low. That's why I always keep a couple. Because you never know. Whoa, that got a little crazy. Oh, you see that one. Let me get a fresh marker. Turning your paper sometimes can be a lot easier. You're creating a better angle for your arm to make those long, even lines. Now, for some reason, I am touching now. And I think it's because I think it looks better when I get to these larger shapes. Having them meet together, it looks cool to me, so that's why I'm doing it. Okay. There it is. That's the starter right there. Now, I want you all for your first few tries on these arcs to fill up about half the page. Okay. Make sure most of the drawing is covering about half the page. I think that's a good length to go to give you some good practice. Now, what's cool about this line design is if you tilt it, it's going to have a greater effect, a more intense 3D effect. That way, or let's try this way. How cool is that? I love this stuff. All right, so this is my challenge to you. You are to make 2 or 3, maybe 4 of these, just to get some good practice on how to make the lines right, how to get your arm moving very consistently across the paper, trying out some different ideas of whether your lines should touch, your arcs should touch each other here in the corner, or leave a small space. You'll be doing some experimenting like that. After you make 3 of these, turn in your best one to me. Submit it to me. okay? After you submit it to me, I'll give you some feedback. And then you're on your own to try to create your own shape design. What does that look like? I don't know. I don't want to show you in examples because I want you to do it on your own. But I will show you a small example here. So you start the same with the dots, right? About 8 or 9 dots across the bottom of your page. Maybe you want to change that. Maybe you want to experiment. Maybe you want to make the dots come up and around. I don't know. Have some fun with this. See what works. Once you get the dots in place, then you choose the shape. I chose an arc, and you saw the results. What would happen if you chose a triangle? What would happen if you chose a square or some organic shape or made-up shape? Experiment with different shapes. See what works, what doesn't work, because you will find that it either has the 3D effect or not. Once you have discovered a shape that works, that has that 3D effect, something other than the arcs, then I want you to experiment with shading. This is where it really pops. So let's look at a couple different ways you can shade. I've got this one here, where I've chosen a light source. My light source is basically coming up this way, okay? It's coming straight at these because the shading happens off to the sides like this, basically equally on both sides. Things that are further back have a little bit more shadow on them. I used colored pencil on this. Or you could choose a different light source. In this case, my little contraption is collapsing over here. Just give me a second. No. More duct tape. Okay. So in this case, my light source is coming from the left. You can see because it's lighting up the left side of each of these shapes, these forms, and then the shadow is curving around to the right. This is your final. Your final is your custom shape design with shading. Let's look at how to shade. All right? You guys are pretty good, you know, you're in middle school now, but it doesn't hurt to see a little demonstration. So I'm going to use colored pencil. If you don't have colored pencils, that's fine. You can just use regular pencils. I like to turn my picture around so I feel more comfortable, with the arc of my wrist this way. I'm going to shade just this left side of my object down in here. I know I can press a little bit harder. You know what? I need a little support for this because I'm getting the grain of the desk and I don't like that. Down here, I know I can go quickly a little bit darker and harder because it's going to be the darkest part of my shadow and I don't have to be quite as careful. Notice I'm shading in the direction of my lines. That's an important trick to remember. You don't want to shade across the lines. That's going to stand out and look kind of funny. So when you're learning how to shade, when you're becoming good at shading, even experts will do this too. You want to shade with the direction of the lines because it forces our eye to see that shape or form more clearly when the shadows and the lines and the shading conform. All right, so here we go. I'm going to bring my dark, press really hard down here. I want a rich, dark blue. A deep shadow makes it the effect more intense. And you may notice as I'm working my way around the object, I just go a little bit lighter with my pressure. So same direction. Medium pressure now. This is my mid-tone here. And where there's a hard line, I don't really like that hard line. So I'm going to come back, I'm going to soften that line by pressing a mid-tone into it, okay? Medium pressure, see how it softens up? And then the lightest bit at the top, really, I'm going to have to go back on my pencil a little bit more. Really just let your pencil float on top of the paper. No pressure, very little pressure. Super light, butterfly light here. I just want to eliminate my edges. So I come in really light here. All the way down. Trying to go with the direction here. Now I see I have a hard line here. I don't really like that line. I want it to be a beautiful, smooth transition. So I come back to that edge. Just work it a little bit more with my light pressure, medium light pressure, and try to soften it. Okay? So that's how you can shade it. And the whole thing needs to be shaded. If you want to blend colors, if you want to add colors together, here we go, I got the purple going too. That can be a beautiful way to finish your piece. And you can see it. It may be hard to see. No, I just did that. But feel free to have fun with this and experiment with your coloring. You could have the whole thing be one tone, one color, or you could add a variety of colors. It is up to you. Okay, to review, this is what is expected. Practice the arc design 2 or 3 times and submit it to me for feedback. Step 2, experiment with new shapes and come up with an original shape that works. Step 3, color your new design in a beautiful way and submit it. And finally, have a great summer. Take good care. Talk to you soon.